Hello and back again. Yeah, the reason why I had to just cut it short there, I could see that the file size was just so massive. I've been ranting for so long, but hopefully you're enjoying it. You can feel my passion that I really do like. Have been thinking about this, and it really, I just want everybody to experience what I've experienced. Not to say that anyone else's perspective has been wrong or anything. It's just anyway. Let's get back to it. So this album here. Sounds of Synonym Pacific Jazz Records, and yeah, there you go. So this album, found it online. Didn't really like the cover. Didn't think it was interesting or anything. The thing what really kind of like popped to me, where I said I'm going to give it a chance at least, was reading some of the blurb here. So it was about an institution for those who have various drug dependencies, and there was a program in one of these institutions where through the means of music, it was to give the those who were staying in this institution an opportunity to express themselves, learn new skills, work as a team instead of individuals, and take their mind off what had brought them to that lowly position in the first place. So that was interesting in and of itself, and I was reading I continued to read because I found it an interesting perspective on things. So yeah, why not give it a go? So as I was reading further, I was looking to see which artists who had performed on here, not thinking it in any way, shape or form that I'd recognize any of them, but I did. And the one is Joe Pass, the jazz guitarist. And I had to listen to this album, and it nearly brought me to tears on how good this album is. It is so underrated. I don't know why the jazz fraternity, well, I certainly haven't seen it, and nobody's really said to me, when you go into jazz vinyl shops and got their displays, I have never seen this album. Maybe it's my fault for not paying more attention, but I've got to say to you, this album, as I said, nearly brought me to tears on how good this is. This is an astonishing work of jazz by amateur performers who play just like they're seasoned veterans. It's I'm going to try and leave a link down below if it is possible to this one. But if you see this one out in the wild and just get your hands on it. I don't care how many records you got in your jazz collection. I just don't care. If you don't have this already, you should have it. It's that good. It really is. And I'm just so pleased that this exists. And if you've seen it for the first time, I'm glad to bring it to your attention. If you already have it in your collection, I'm going to say shame on you. You should be shouting from the rooftops that this exists. You should be doing that. I'm not saying I'm not going to treat you as a bad guy or anything, but when people are talking about jazz albums and their favorite one, I ain't seen nobody talk about this one, and it's really a shame because it's absolutely fantastic. So there you go. Right. Can you feel my passion there? Can you feel it? Right. Something given to you or unsolicited jazz album. Found this extremely difficult. In all honesty, I'm like a one-man band in terms of family members or friends. Not only I'm not probably the only one who listens to jazz and takes it seriously, but certainly on vinyl, on a continual basis, I'm pretty much the only person I know who's doing this. So the people who I might have conversations with, I know them from record shops and that. So yes, in terms of nobody's really, I've given jazz albums to other people. So when I've got upgrades, better copies of existing albums in my collection, I've given them to somebody else. Nobody's really given me jazz albums, and I'm not, maybe I've got that kind of face. It's like, well, people either assume I've got it, or yeah, it's probably assumption that I've got it or won't like it. Yeah, because I am pretty fussy, to be quite honest. I don't just like anything. So the album I'm going to show you is I'm going to say it's a piece of tat, but it's the one example of where somebody's giving me a freebie, and it happens to be in the jazz genre. So the background to this particular album, I'm going to show it to you. It's the Maxell, Jazz Sampler 3 limited edition stereo recording. So the thrift shop which I used to go and get some of my jazz vinyl from no longer exists, but it was in a place called Stoke Newington in North London, and it was a record shop which, yeah, as I said, doesn't exist anymore. But when it first opened, I think I went there on the first day, and each album in the entire place, they must have had thousands of albums, but I was one of the first people to ever go into the store, and I spent hours in there, and I must have bought like 70 albums, something like that. And don't get me wrong, over a course of time, I've either given them away to other people because they weren't up to standard, poor copies, or they weren't what I thought they were, or I've given them back to the store in question and said, you know what, it wasn't really for me, but you should give yourself another chance with this. So, you can either give me a store credit, or here, you can have it back for free. It's that kind of thing. So on one of these occasions where I bought, for what for me is a huge amount of records in one go, this must have been in the pile of albums that I was buying at that stage, and the person got so bored of ringing in or calculating how much I had spent, they just went, "Oh, just take that, you know what, just get out of my shop," more than anything. So I was given this, and I'd totally forgotten about this particular album. I gotta say, it's absolute garbage. Let me show you the inside. So there's tracks by Jeff Lorber. There's some, there's one with Ella Fitzgerald and I think Count Basie. There's a Buddy Rich tune on there. Thad Jones, Oscar Peterson, and you would think to yourself, well, it's got those on there, you give it a chance. No, this is absolute garbage. It really is. But the reason that I've probably kept it around, and after this particular video, this will be discarded at some point. I'll give it to somebody or hand this into a second-hand shop and just say, no, I don't want anything for it. You just see what you can do with it. But probably what I like most about this album is the back cover. Just for historical purposes, because when you try and talk to young people about, formats in music, when you talk to them about audio cassette, they just look at you with a glazed expression. It's like, what are you talking about? So it's just nice to see these audio cassettes, reel to reels, that sort of thing. In England, we were more, well, certainly in London, TDK was the cassette of choice, the brand name, and that was pretty much it. Maxell, didn't really resonate in London. Nobody was really flossing with it, so there you go. But yeah, it's just a good reminder to me of previous formats more than anything. But I'm definitely getting rid of this. Shelf space is of a premium in my collection, so this is just taking up space what a really good jazz album could have taken. And yeah, this is this is being immediately discarded. So there you go. That's a freebie, which wasn't kind of like a freebie. It was more kind of like a pity thing, like get out of my shop kind of. Oh yeah, although you're spending money, and yeah, thank you for your interest. Yeah, can you leave now, because you're just messing me about. Anyway, so that was that one. The next question is jazz box set. So to be honest with you, I don't buy box sets at all. It's not really, for whatever reason, it just doesn't work with me. But I do have one, and yeah, I'm going to show it to you. There's quite a few viewers out there who have seen it on my shelves behind me in previous videos, and I don't play it enough, partly because it's in a box. I can't be bothered for whatever reason. I kind of like have a blind side to it. And here it is. It's the Boston Creative Jazz Scene 1970 to 1983. Yeah, it's got nice, I gotta say, some of the packaging, you know what, this is beautifully put together. Yeah, I can't tip up the rest of it because because it's all going to fall out. So there's a couple of bits of vinyl in there plus a booklet. The jazz on here as such is more on from the independent scene, obviously from Boston. It's a bit of a mixed bag. There's some free jazz elements, and then there's some kind of more traditional jazz elements. I like it, and I got it for a reasonable price. I think you can still get hold of this for a reasonable price. It's not a world changer in terms of jazz, but I like it nonetheless. And bringing it out for this video to show you is just reminding me, hey, you should play this a bit more. It's pretty good. So in all honesty, I haven't had a really good opportunity to really sit down with the contents of this particular box set, but what I've heard of it, it's like, yeah, it's pretty good. But this is my one example of a jazz box set. I just don't go for that sort of thing. So there you go. The next one is album you would like to have an upgraded copy of. Gosh, you see, I had to split this into two videos. There was just so much going on. A bit of deliberation with this, because there's obvious ones like, oh, I would like a better copy of A Love Supreme, or, you know, one of Mingus's albums or something like that. It'd be quite easy to do that, but no, in my case, it's more to do with something that I've heard, and I just know it's just a moody copy. And when I say moody in London terms, it means that it's not the best, it's not the clearest. You know, the vinyl that I'm going to show you has been cleaned more than once, and it still has that kind of dusty sensibilities about it. So it kind of tells me that whoever previously owned it loved it and played it to death, and this is really, you know, this is what happens, this is the consequence. So the album is in itself a soundtrack, and it's Errol Gardner with the original soundtrack from A New Kind of Love, which starred Paul Newman and his then wife. What's her name again? I'm trying to remember her name. It will come back to me sooner or later. It's not written there. No, it'll come back to me anyway. See if it's on the back. No. Is it Joanne Woodward? Something like that? Her name? Yeah. So, anyway, that's beside the point. This, again, I got this from a thrift store. The same store I was telling you about where I bought loads of other things from. It's on the Philips label. It was about 50 pence, something like that. So I got my full money's worth out of it. But the reason why I particularly want a new copy of this is the actual theme track, the opening theme track to this movie, A New Kind of Love. I love that track by Errol Gardner. I love it. And it kind of got me, not to say I got a lot of Errol Gardner albums, but again, piano jazz resonates with me. I got a soft spot for it. And the composition I just found so interesting. Now, again, some of you will say, well, it's not purely jazz. It's more of easy listening, stroke pop, stroke soundtrack. I'm going to say to you, you can say that. I'm going to say in this case, for the purposes of this video, it's a fine example of piano jazz, which just happens to be part of a movie soundtrack. So I would put the... So I think with them, some other people's comments is putting the cart before the horse. I'm going to say it's a jazz track first. Then, it just happens to be put onto an album, which is a movie soundtrack. So this is what I'd like to get upgraded. I'd like a much nicer copy of it, because I can't really play this album on my current turntable. So I have a basic turntable, a mid-tier turntable, and I've got like what would be considered in most people's eyes a high-end turntable. I can't play this on my high-end one. It just, no, I just wouldn't take the chance. It's just not worth the aggravation, or on the mid-tier one, again, I'm slightly reluctant. So this is confined to be played on my most basic, my budget turntable. But yeah, that particular turntable is not wired up all the time, so hence I don't get a lot of opportunities to hear this album. I really have to want to hear it because I've got to unplug everything, plug things back in again, and then use a totally different turntable. So yeah, I would really like a nice copy of this. Yeah, there you go. Let's see, next one is Jazz 10-inch. Yeah, again, I'm going to take you guys on a journey. So yeah, loads of you can, like, you know, other YouTubers will show you like Verve or Blue Note 10 inches, and I say all power to them. It's like, yeah, no complaints. I'm going to try and take you left field, and yeah, what I'm going to show you next, it's by a gentleman called Herberts Bodzin, and the album is called Revival. Well, it's not an album, it's a 10-inch. The Electric Jazz Rock Recordings. Anyway, I'm going to show it to you. There you go. That's as Eastern European 70s as you're ever going to get. Love it. So, yeah, I don't have 10-inch albums. I just don't. But I had to have this one. When I heard this for the first time, it absolutely blew my socks off. And for reasons that I've already said in the earlier video, part 1 of this, I like people who push the boundaries of what is jazz. I kind of like them. I got a soft spot for them. I got a soft spot for the underdog and those who are the outliers, those who take risks. This is a good example of, it's more kind of jazz fusiony, I would say, more than traditional jazz. But you can't say it's not in the jazz umbrella. You can't say it's not underneath, because it is. It definitely is. But it's not traditional jazz. But hailing from Eastern Europe, these guys, oh, they're smoking with some of the stuff they do. But it's not for everyone. I can accept that. But yeah, in terms of a 10-inch, which is in the broad umbrella of jazz, yeah, I would. Yeah, would I recommend it to everybody? No. But those who are risk takers, who want something different in their collection, check this one out. I'm going to try and leave a link down below for you so you can hear it for yourself. But yeah, there you go. For 10-inch, there you go. The next one is recent jazz score, meaning something that I've purchased recently in the jazz genre, which blew my socks off. I'm going to show you something, and I could have put it under my best online purchase, but I'm going to put it under this category of recent jazz score Best Buy type thing. So unlike most people, I wasn't really familiar with the Bandcamp independent musician type portal. I'd heard of it, but not really investigated it. And when I happened to do a bit of investigating, I came across this album here, which, I'm so pleased with myself that when you take a chance in jazz, you could often come up with stuff like this. So this is Hans Koller. Hans, I'm not sure where he's from. I haven't done enough reading on him, but with a name like Hans Koller, German, Austrian, somewhere like that, he probably hails from. Love the cover. Love it. See, that's partly what drew me to it. So you can never underestimate how the power of covers are for those who are interested in music, because that's like your gateway. It's like, oh, I like the look of that. What genre is it in? Yeah, it's in my wheelhouse of jazz. I'm going to give it a listen if I can, see what I think. And if it holds up, it's going to be superb purchase. This is superb. So private label. This one, I think it's a 2016 release, I think. But by golly, there is some absolute crackers on this one. Now, again, I keep saying, if you open your mind to what's out there, there are some fantastic jazz albums out there, and this is one of them. And I'm so pleased to get my hands on it. It's so good. It's just the creativity that you can only get from being independent, and just you know, following your dreams, putting out compositions which you rate. You know, sometimes it's not good to work in a bubble because you can get things wrong quite easily. But this particular artist has been around for a while. He's paid his dues. He's put out this sensational. I would say it's more of a retrospective on his more recent work from the, you know, from like 2010 onwards. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It's just astonishing. I'm going to try and leave links down below. But again, if you've never seen this album before, you've got to show this guy some love, because this guy knows his onions. He really does. Oh, astonishing. Super glad to get this in my hands. Super glad. The price was reasonable for it. I was blown away by this one. Right, let's go on to album that I hope to find in 2021. Okay, so it's an album that I don't already have but would like to have, and quite simply for me, on the Verve label, 1968 release, George Benson's Giblet Gravy. Now, some of you have got it in your collections, and I just want to... the reason for wanting this album, and I'm not gonna, I know at some point it's in my destiny to find this album and a good copy of it. I will find you. It's calling me. It's kind of like Sauron in Lord of the Rings type thing. There's gonna be a whispering, you are mine, all that kind of stuff. So the reason for wanting this George Benson album is his rendition of Sunny, the classic track Sunny. His guitar, jazz, stroke blues version of it, his interpretation is mind-blowing. That's one of the fundamental core pillars of my jazz appreciation. I heard the track decades ago, fell in love with it. One of the tunes where I said to myself, I've got to have... I'm going to leave a link down below so you guys can hear it for yourselves if you've never heard it before. It's just beautiful. For all the jazz vinyl I've got, which is not, you know, it's more than most, but it's less than quite a few people out there. I think this is fundamental to my collection. I have to have it. I have to have it. So yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not willing to commit crimes to get it, and I'm not going to max out my credit card to get it. I'm just not. But I will get this album in time. So it's George Benson's Giblet Gravy on the Verve label, 1968, and I want it specifically for the track Sunny. I've got to have that in my collection. So there you go. So we're down to the last two. Free jazz album. Again, I don't have a lot of free jazz. It's not a subdivision of jazz that I'm really into, because I've got to be honest with you, I don't understand it. I'm used to a certain rhythm in jazz, and don't get me wrong, there's outliers. Even David Brubeck, because he was mixing about with, you know, the pacing of tunes and all that kind of stuff. I get that and I can follow that, but free jazz I have real problems with. So I've got a bit of it here and there. So I've got a bit of Eric Dolphy, I've got a bit of, oh, I'm just trying to see, I don't want to like fall over on my stool. Yeah, I've got bits and, sorry for not looking at the camera. Yeah, mainly Eric Dolphy. Anyway, I can't remember. There's another artist I've got in there who's free. Ornette Coleman. Yeah, I've got some of his stuff as well. Do I love it? That's the thing. Do I love, although those are classic jazz albums, like The Shape of Jazz to Come, those kind of things, I appreciate them, I respect them. Do I love them? No. Now you can say, well, because you don't understand it. Fair enough. Yeah, but I'm not going to tell you that I like something when I don't, or, you know, I'm not going to recommend something to you if I don't really like it. So it's to do with personal taste. Glad that I've got those albums in my collection, but in terms of free jazz, I think I've hit I'm not going to be buying any more of it, because it's kind of like I don't really get it. But this is an example of a free jazz album, but it's not your normal kind of one which is spoken about all the time. Lots of you are going to have this particular album, but yeah, I thought I'd show it to you. It's Free and Loose by Errado Volonte. There you go. Like the album cover. I like to see a guy at work. Yeah, super nice. Yeah, no complaints. Yeah, it does what it says on the tin. I've given this a good listen to. I must have listened to this album maybe about 20 times. I still can't get a handle on it, and it's the same with all my free jazz albums. There's certain ones which are more accessible than others, but I just don't get free jazz. It's just too meandering. There's no foundation for me to hold on to, and that's why it's called free jazz, pretty much. So yeah, if you like free jazz and you don't have this particular one, I'd say have a listen to it. It should be, I'm not saying super easy to get hold of, but you can get this album, no doubts about it. So yeah, my example of free jazz, and again from the Italian stable. I've chosen to, come away from, the obvious answer, try to give you something different. So there you go, free jazz, Errado Volonte, I believe you would pronounce that. So we've come to almost the end of the video, what's turned out into be a 2-part video, where I'm just nearly exhausted by all the emotions in play. So let's get to the very last one. The very last one is Desert Island Jazz Record. Now, yeah, it'd be easy for me to pull out of my collection here a Miles Coltrane. I was going to say Miles Davis, a John Coltrane, maybe a Dizzy Gillespie, maybe a Herbie Hancock, maybe a Yusef Lateef, something like that. I could easily do that and say that's it, and it will correspond to what many of you guys have got out there, and it'd be like, yeah, he likes the same one I do. I probably got, yeah, I'm going to be a bit different here, because this is in the pantheon of albums I think are essential to any jazz collection. I do believe you should have this one, and I would say more than, apart from, I would say, a Love Supreme. This is, for me, in terms of Desert Island, and I had one piece of vinyl to listen to, and that's it. Until somebody rescues me, this is what you got to listen to. I'm going to give it to Max Roach. Members, Don't Get Weary. Let me just take the cover off. Love the cover. It's on Atlantic Records. 1968 original. Well, this is not an original, but it came out in 1968. I love this album. Jazz drummer led. I just think the compositions on here are just, not a lot of jazz brings tears to my eyes when I listen to it, but when I listen to this one, I feel the heart and soul of the musicians who are playing this. I'm not trying to be, over egg it. I'm not trying to tell you that this, I'm just saying this is an absolutely superb example of what jazz can be. Now, if you don't have this in your collection already, please consider it. You'd be doing yourself, and I've said it a couple of times, a disservice if you don't have this one, or at least listen to it. It's just beautiful. It's like the stars were in alignment. You got the right musicians, you got the right compositions, and it just came out at the right time. It had the right flavor to it. So for me, Desert Island Jazz Record, or Jazz Vinyl, Max Roach, Members, Don't Get Weary. So that's the last one. So probably I've done like an hour's chit chat about this. So again, I want to thank Chris from Tunes from the Man Cave. Please check out his YouTube channel. Really nice guy, super sincere. Hopefully he won't be offended that I have manipulated some of his lists to suit my own purposes, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Particularly that I tried to preface it by saying I didn't want to go for the safe option. I didn't want to show you very similar albums to what everybody else is showing you. I wanted to show you some of the outriders, some of the people who have been forgotten. I wanted to champion the underdog, hence why not only is this, well, these pair of videos so long, you can hear I'm just super passionate. I've been ranting. Time has just flown past because I've enjoyed every album I've shown you for different reasons. Hopefully you will enjoy it yourselves. I'm going to leave links down below so you can hear these albums for yourself. Yeah, can't wait to see more of your videos in terms of, you know, you might want to show me your listing, and, you know, you might want to rebuttal against some of the albums that I've presented to you. But hopefully the idea was to have a bit of fun, go through personal collections, you know, a show and tell as to your journey in jazz, why you've chosen one thing over another. Hopefully none of you were offended. You shouldn't be, because like I said, I've seen videos out there where people have got phenomenal jazz collections. Yeah, I can't dispute what they've got in there. Is it necessarily my taste? No, but that's not to say that devalues theirs. I don't believe in putting someone else down to elevate myself. It's kind of like we got the same passion, we just approach it from different directions, and there's nothing wrong with that. So before my voice completely leaves me, I've got to say thank you very much for putting up with me, letting me rant for which is best part of an hour now. Hope you've enjoyed it. I will include links down below so you can hear these tracks for yourselves. And please, if you agree, disagree with anything that I've said, please use the comment section to do so. Please slap a like down as well. I really would appreciate that. And if you are, well, new to the channel, welcome. If you are a returning person, thank you very much for stopping by and listening to my rant, my overblown rantings. But you know the score if you've been here before. So until the next episode, please look after yourselves, stay safe, and I will see you soon. So until then, bye bye.